Good afternoon, folks, and here's some weird articles from CBR.com about Cyberpunk, while all the other gaming websites out there are talking about the bugs that Cyberpunk has had on launch and the giant 45 gigabyte update on day one. This website seems to focus on the transphobia of Cyberpunk, which I'm quite sure there isn't. I mean, there might be that theme, or there could be an event or quest line that has a transphobic person, but I'm not sure how far that goes. Because we talk about transphobia, we could talk about transhuman phobia in Cyberpunk, but I think they're referring to transsexual phobia. Let's make that distinction clear here. So we're going to go through half of this article, as I know how ridiculous this sounds, and we're going to see the other one as well, just to see how ridiculous CBR is trying to paint Cyberpunk as some sort of anti-trans story or whatever, however they treat their characters in it. So Cyberpunk 2077 has a lot of hype surrounding it, but its transphobic elements cannot be ignored. Here's what players are saying. I honestly don't know, because I read the article, if players are actually saying this. I think it's just this person, Anthony Gramuglia. Anyway, might offer a never-before-seen picture of the transhumanist experience with its fully rendered sci-fi dystopian world and its portrayal of trans characters. So transhumanist is not trans characters. They're making that distinction. So transhuman has to do with the evolution of humanity, whether it's cybernetic or whatever, and trans characters are specific to transsexual characters. This is anything but progressive. Many gamers have criticized how Cyberpunk 2077 has developed. CD Projekt Red chose to fetishize and commodity trans bodies and trans identity. Considering everything in Night City is a commodity by virtue of being sold and bought, you can upgrade your body parts. I don't see how this is a problem. And whether you could buy or sell sex, also not a problem. That's kind of the point. According to critics, Cyberpunk 2077 not only fails its trans audience, I don't know which critics these are, but seemingly goes out of its way to perpetuate negative stereotypes. And even if that were the case, bravo. There's nothing wrong with showcasing negative stereotypes, whether it's transsexualism, whether it's transhumanism, whether that's political on either perspective, whether that's militaristic, whether that's cultural, whether that's anything. There's nothing wrong in an open world game, or any game for that matter, style of game, to have negative stereotypes. You need them sometimes in stories to get your point across in a very succinct and clear and quick way. That's why you use them. So it does not matter that there are negative stereotypes, and those stereotypes are racial or sexual or transsexual or whatever. Have fun. Tell a meaningful story with a diverse and fantastic setting. And in this case, it's a cybernetic setting. However, while this is already problematic, and again, anyone who uses the word problematic, you already know where they're coming from, and you already know their bias. So you know how they're going to get this argument wrong of what they're talking about and what they are concerned with and why it's irrelevant. What makes the controversy surrounding Cyberpunk even worse is the response the critics of the games has received. I don't know what that is. Several trans critics have been harassed and mistreated online because they're morons, and people are right to call them out for their stupidity. Good for them. You say something stupid, you're going to get a stupid response. Creating an atmosphere of violence towards the trans community that Cyberpunk developers chose to ignore or outright poke fun at. And why would CD Projekt Red has apologized to everyone for no reason. They have no control over people's responses to other people. Why would they? Their job is to create a great game, a fun game. That's it. That's the point of this whole experience, is to make a fun game. Oh boy. Hasn't finished nearly 200 hours, and that's a bad thing. Okay, I mean, again, the CPR is saying some odd stuff. How the length of a game is bad because they went over 200 hours and haven't finished the game. I mean, maybe they're trying to do everything they can. That sounds like there's a lot of gameplay there. That's a good thing. So, Cyberpunk's transphobia becomes apparent as soon as players enter the character creation menu. Okay, so this person, when you create your character, thinks there is transphobia in customizing your character. Let's just let that sink in. Just making your character look a certain way or sound a certain way is transphobic, all right? The game sports an incredibly detailed and intuitive character creator where players can manipulate and control various aspects of the character's appearance, including the shapes and sizes of their genitals. Now, imagine that wasn't in there. Would they have anything to bitch about? Yes, they would. But this just gives them more ammunition. How dare Cyberpunk allow you to customize these things? Not only can you customize your genitals, but you can customize your nails, the fingernail painting on them, as well as your teeth. You can do all these levels of detail, which probably has nothing to do with the plot or the story or anything really with characterization. It's just a fun little detail that you can add to your character for the heck of it because it's cool. It looks cool. That's it. Now, if there's more to it than that, bravo. Good for you, CD Projekt Red. You somehow put a characterization in customization, which I love to see, but I don't know how that's going to work out yet. No one does yet. But if you can do that, great. Players can, even if they choose, forego the option to include genitals at all. In and of it, that's kind of interesting. You just don't care. Like, just whatever genitals. In and of itself, it isn't necessarily problematic or transphobic, especially because genitals don't seem to affect gender options. So here, this entire paragraph, this guy's like, yeah, there's nothing really wrong. There's this huge problem with transphobia, but there's really no problem with it. So there's transphobia in the character creation, but the character creation doesn't seem to have any problem, at least in this paragraph. So here we go. This is where I'm going to stop. At first, many trans players were happy with the idea that gender would not be determined by the character's genitals. However, that possible excitement turned to disbelief when gamers realized their character's gender and pronouns are not determined by genitals, but rather by voice. So this makes a lot of sense. Males have deeper sounding voices on average. Females have higher sounding voices on average. That makes sense. Only deep voiced characters can be identified as male, while higher pitched characters are identified as female, which purports the harmful idea that people's genders can be identified by certain traits, which it usually is, because all those traits are usually based on sex. I seem to remember a game, Dragon Age Inquisition, where you had, if you chose male, you had two voice options for male, an American-sounding male and a slightly British-sounding male. Same with female. That means they got 4 voice actors to voice all the major lines of dialogue in Dragon Age Inquisition. This harkens back to the voice sets you can choose in Baldur's Gate games, where you could choose, I think there were 6 versions of a male or female. I can't recall exactly all the variations, but they were like aggressive, charming, intellectual, like whatever they were. And these were all based off combat. So if you were to attack someone with your sword icon, the aggressive guy would scream, the subtle guy would say something witty, that sort of sound set. But now games are bigger. Now you can actually hire 4 voice actors to do all the voice acted lines in your game for dialogue and cutscenes. And that's a beautiful thing. But you know what? That's not enough. That's not enough for the trans, not even the trans community. These are people bitching on behalf of the trans community when they don't even represent them. So I don't know what the big hubbub is about. What is the problem? So I'm not going to go through this, but he continues, in a truly trans-friendly game, gender would be determined by a player's independent choice, separate from any other qualities. Well, too bad. So sad. Go cry to your dad. I mean, what are you going to do? Don't play the game. If you're so pissed off that you couldn't get past the character creation stage, why bother playing? Just return your copy. I'm sure you'll get a refund. I mean, maybe you won't, but I don't really care. If you're pissed off by such a thing you never knew existed. Oh, this is problematic for the trans community. Shut up. No, it's not. They don't give a flying crap. They have other problems, like whether they're going to be male or female tomorrow. I think that's a bit more important than playing a video game, don't you think? Anyway, their other article, which also came out today, just a few hours ago, called Critics Love Cyberpunk 2077's Open World, but are concerned about transphobic content. Now, in this article, I'm just going to go through it really quickly. They have people from IGN, Game Informer, etc., and they're quoting them. But let's just do a simple keyword search for trans, okay? Are they saying trans in these quotes? Let's find out. Nothing here. Nope. The word trans appears 3 times, 1, 2, and 3 in this article, and they have linked or they have quoted IGN, Game Informer, GameSpot, Vice, Polygon, The Verge, Games Radar. And not one is saying anything about transsexuals. This is the stupidest article I've read today. I'm sure I'll read more from CBR. But just the silliest clickbaity title, Sage Negron. That is not a real name. Come on. Who are you? You're not a journalist. You're a hack. So is Mr. Anthony Gramuglia trying to defend the trans community. Get real. Don't want to play the game? Don't play it. But don't bitch and whine that the character creation stage is problematic for the trans community. Anyway, thanks for listening, folks. Keep your eyes peeled because things are going to be happening on reviews on Cyberpunk. All the bugs and glitches and God knows what else the next few days. It's coming out soon. So don't give in to the hype. Just take it easy, read some reviews, and we'll see you soon.